with them steppers, huh? But you can't step with us. Niggas swear they certified steppers, but don't step enough. So you be with them steppers, huh? But you can't step with us. Niggas swear they certified steppers, but don't step enough. So you be.
Welcome to the Certified Steppazpodcast. I'm your host, Smooth, baby. And this is my co-host, KP.
What's up, baby? It's King KP to you, boy. You feel me?
You too little.
No, I'm too little. You looking at 6'6", 258 over here. Hey, no, but how you feeling, bro? You good?
Feeling pretty good.
Yeah, good. Man, this is our the final episode of
the year.
Yep, of 2020, bro. Certified Steppers so it's our wrap-up episode, as I call it, 2020 wrap-up.
Yeah.
And man, when I sit back and just think about the year that we had, and personally, right, the year that we both went through some shit, and the year we had as a black community, bro, it's like it's something to celebrate where you at, right?
Oh, yeah.
Especially where we at least, right? So I feel good about that, and it got me thinking about where I wanted to bring this final episode. Like, I wanted to focus specifically on a mental health conversation, specifically around men in the black community, though. And I wanted to chop it up with my bro and collect your thoughts on some of the things that, some of the questions that I would have, and kind of get your perspective on things.
Right.
First and foremost, before I kind of dive into the questions, I'm just gonna mention, look, we coming from a place of two dudes who been through some shit. And just sharing our perspective, right? We in no way, shape, or form are we professionals in any kind. We just giving our opinions.
Yeah.
But with that being said, like, why do you think, as black men, it's we take the option of suppressing our emotions instead of dealing with our mental health issues?
I think most of us really don't know how to express our emotions. Yeah. It's like when we were kids, we were brought up, we were taught, hey, boys don't cry, and stuff like that. And if we did, it made us look soft.
Sure. And friends get picked at you.
Yeah.
Like you say, big brother, cousins, all that laughing at you, right?
Yeah. So, you a punk.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so you train yourself on how to suppress that shit.
Yeah. And another reason, like, we wasn't taught nothing about mental health in school. I don't remember never being taught nothing about mental health.
Wasn't it considered like ADD or ADHD or something? Isn't that what they labeled it? Like,
I don't remember.
Like, that's the only thing I can relate to, like, when I see people dealing with stuff and how they lash out and stuff, and they just want to slap a label on it. Yeah. That was like the most commonly thrown around thing that I seen when I was in school. Like, you would always hear somebody was ADD or ADHD, whichever the terminology was being used at the time. But we don't learn about it in school. I'll take it one further. Like, we also not being taught about that in our households as a black community, right? Yeah. Like you just alluded to parents talking about boys not supposed to cry and man up, and what I'm saying, you gotta take it on the chin, right? You the man of the house now, and all these conversations that you have, where we automatically gotta jump into these roles of being this masculine energy before we even understand how to be an adolescent, right? Yeah. And I think that shit is scary when for me, the fact that I don't have kids, and when I think about, when I do have them and having to raise them, and how responsible I have to be to make sure that they go through these phases properly, to get to a manhood to where they can, one, live in their masculinity, but then two, not afraid to tap into their emotions to actually feel shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's an interesting conversation. Because for me, if I'm answering my own question quickly, it's like, I think, just like what you mentioned, like, we raised that way, right? Through our upbringings as black men. We're also not taught about it in any schooling or our household. But then I just think that it's like, you got to factor in shit like fear, right? Like the fear of opinions, right?
And it's like, when you do want to talk about it, who you going to talk about it with?
Right. Who you comfortable with, right?
Yeah. I remember a long time ago, I told one of my homeboys, I don't know what I was dealing with. He was like, "Boy, ain't nothing wrong with you. Shut up."
Just like that.
So you gotta know who you can go to in that situation.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely true because you can't just run your business to whomever, right?
Yeah.
Like, and because one, they're gonna be dismissive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it just makes you want to not tell nobody nothing anyway. Yeah. Or two, what else happens, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of them taking that information and staying solid with it, now everybody, know about what's going on with you, right? So, and that's what I was going with the fear part, right? Like, people whenever they open it up, they're being vulnerable, right? And one of the hardest things to do is trust somebody with your vulnerability, man. That shit is scary, right? So that's another reason why I think men suppress. But my question right back to you on the same topic of suppressing, like, what measures would you say as men we should be taking to like break that cycle? Like, how should we break that cycle of like suppressing all of our emotions all the time?
I think we should just open up more. Right. Like whatever we going through, talk about it. Don't suppress it, because when you suppress it, it's gonna get worse. It's gonna keep building up, and it's gonna have to release some kind of way. Yeah.
Do you find yourself like, because I'm assuming you suppressed in the past?
Yeah.
Like whenever you got to your breaking point, is it just like a huge blow up, or is it like a breakdown? Like how do you like blow up and you angry, or you break down and sad? Like
I just shut out everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Back then, I wouldn't like. Even when I used to tell you, I used to like, look, Kate, I'm about to, I forgot. I used to be like, I ain't gonna talk to y'all for a minute. If you need me, like hit me up on Snapchat or something. That's when like every time I do that, I was dealing with depression. Yeah.
And I had kind of sensed it after we had started talking more and shit. When I was just picking, I kind of sensed that about you. But it was like, I would always be like, are you straight?
Yeah.
Just letting you know, hey, I'm here. But I kind of left it to you, just be like, hey, you got a lifeline, but I know that shit take time for everybody to come around and wanna open up from that standpoint. So,
yeah. So how you when you had mental issues, how you dealt with it?
Man, for me, it was, I call it exactly what it was. Like mine was like depression, right? And it was just like when I was going through it, like when I first identified depression for what it was, when I was in the stage of it, was when I was going through my breakup, right? That was when I acknowledged it. But like, when you go through your healing process, you start peeling back older layers, right? I just started remembering, times being depressed, when, going through situations with my mom, having these different issues, and going through issues with basketball, not knowing if I'm get a scholarship and all these other things, shit that you really love and value, right? And you start seeing how it affects you. And I really started thinking like, damn, I really was tucking them emotions. Boom, all right, my mom did this to me, made me feel this way. But I can't cry, you know what I'm saying? I can't show no emotions. I gotta, you know what I'm saying? I gotta take that on the chin because I'm supposed to be a man, right? I wasn't spoiled. I wasn't raised that way. Right, you get told no so much, you just become numb to the shit, right? So it was like once you but it really affects you as a kid, right? Simple shit. And so like when I started identifying depression for what it was in the breakup, and I knew I needed to heal from that, it was like once I realized I was over the breakup, I was still in that state. Like, damn, why the fuck am I still not like I'm off this situation? Why I'm still tripping now? And then I had to dig deeper, and that's when I started realizing that for me it was like, yo, you gotta really to deal with whatever issues you're going through, and at a mental state, you gotta strip yourself naked. You know what I mean? And be real with yourself, man, and have whatever emotions you're gonna have, right? If you angry, be angry. If you're gonna punch a wall, do that. If you're gonna cry, cry. You know what I'm saying? If it's sad, if it's depression, like for me, what helped me is that when I started feeling shit, I was acknowledging it for what it was, and I called it that, right? I was like, okay, I'm angry right here. This is what it is, right? And what's this emotion, and why am I having that, right? And I even went through a process, like I told some of my close friends that like I tapped into like a therapist, which I think is heavily important, right? For a few sessions. However, like I found it like just as rewarding when I was on this discovery of myself, So I literally got to a point where it was like, all right, the therapist, right? She can't do anything for me right now because this is a self journey, right? I'm actually figuring me out. So that's when I got to the point where I was just like acknowledging all of what it was.
Why you think more black people don't go see therapists?
I think it's about looking at, you know how we are, man. It's like we look at that like, man, I can't talk to no stranger. Like I don't know this person, right? Like I have a hard time opening up. Like we as black people, we have a hard time opening up to the people that we know, right? And then you turn around and tell us that we need to go sit down and talk to somebody that we have no relationship with, but that's in fact why we should do it, right? Right? To go sit down and have a conversation with somebody that has, zero biases and nothing invested in you staying in a bad state or can't bring no negative thoughts to you. Like that's somebody you unload on, you know, right? Because you're able to just get it off and they're able to help you think through stuff that most people who know you ain't gonna help you think about because they're gonna be thinking from a perspective of you. This person's just thinking from a perspective of them. They don't know you. They don't know the lifestyle. So I think it's hella important. And when I say speak to a therapist, bro, like if you can't afford a therapist and all that and it's too high and I get it, you know, not having insurance or insurance not covering that, like there's other ways to unload and be in the state of a therapist. Like if you got a great friend, right?
I just say somebody you trust, whoever you trust the most that you could talk to.
Yeah, like if you can just, because a lot of that time it's just release, bro. Like you need to just get that shit out of you, and you need to just, sometimes it's either venting or sometimes you need to run some ideas across somebody, and you just want to have those conversations. Or sometimes you genuinely dealing with some shit, and you just need somebody to, you know, kind of help you think from a different perspective because you feeling this way, and you don't know if it's the right way to feel or not, right? Yeah. Like. You ain't gotta be talking to nobody especially. I mean, I would recommend that route for sure, but that option is not available to everybody all the time. So like, find you an alternative. Yeah, right?
I know. When I was dealing with depression, the way I dealt with it, I would just shut everybody out. Like you wouldn't see me post nothing on no social media, nothing like that. I wouldn't talk to nobody. With the anxiety, the way I dealt with that, I just stopped caring. I said, man, they said anxiety is worrying something is wrong. So the first thing I did, when they told me what it was, they said like you gotta go to the heart doctor, see if something wrong with your heart. He said nothing wrong with your heart. All right, nothing wrong with that. They did all these tests, nothing wrong. They said it's all in your head. I said, all right. So every day I'd write down like, Jeremy, you all right? I write down different stuff like to motivate me.
Yeah.
Every day I write the same thing. I write different things down and I just beat it now. I just stopped caring. Like everything that was going on that probably drove me to for like panic attacks and anxiety, I just stopped caring about all that.
Yeah.
And started
and just being free. Right?
Yeah.
It's that free spirit. And see that kind of like, mine just has a label on it. It's kind of like the same approach though. For me, when I came for me to come out of my situation, it was meditation. Yeah, I got into meditation heavy, and just tapping into my spiritual being, right, and just connected with God a lot more. So it was that piece, and then it was like the gym life, like, and you already know, like we do that on the regular, but like I had got excessive with it. It was like it was a stress reliever, right? So that was the other thing. That was another thing that I had that I can kind of focus on. And then I love to like read and write, right? Especially read. So like I dive into all kind of books, self-help books, motivational books, fiction books, you name it. I just became an avid reader. And then, I'll be honest with you, my weed smoke. Yeah. Right, so like when I found that when I was coming into a happy place in my life, which was a dope time for me, right? Because I wasn't one of those 15-year-old smokers, right? I started doing it when I was 30, 31, really. Yeah. so like that's how I cope with it. And then like each day, I wasn't writing it down, but in my meditation, I speak to my subconscious mind a lot, right? And so which means I'm just speaking power into myself. So, and I did a lot of that stuff, right? I would speak just life into myself, and that's how I started to dig myself out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, how, for you, whenever you was going through that practice, and you kept saying, "Hey, I stopped caring," and and I'm just gonna live. Like, what was that moment when you knew you was on the other side of all the anxiety and depression? You like, man, I'm really in a dope space now.
One day I just woke up and I would just notice, like when I be in my car listening to music, I just be vibing. Mm-hmm. I just be happy. And every day that passed, I'd be happy and happier. I'm like, damn, see me and Timmy all these years, like I've been down or I haven't been myself. It just felt different.
Yeah.
I just felt different.
And it's just and it's hard to like explain it in words. It's just like you just feel it. For me, and it's crazy you said that you got in your car and you just started listening to music and you was vibing, like, and you know this, like most people attest to this, like for me, like it's my happy place, man. I be sitting here in the house really and just be like, man, I feel like getting out the house. I jump in my car, have me a spliff with me, and I got a playlist ready, and I literally just drive and ride. Sometimes I'm by myself, sometimes I got company with me, and literally, whether the company's with me and I'm talking to them and getting off my thoughts, or I'm just in my head getting through my thoughts, bro, that's the dopest therapy ever for me. That and sitting on my roof when I go up there and chill. Yeah, so like, I just think that like, whenever we tap into the men aspect of being emotional and talking about mental health and opening up, bro, we got to do our part in making it cool, right? Because if you see, especially when you look at the younger generation, it's like it's sad to say, but like everything has to be done through trends, I feel like. So how do you make something a trend? You push that shit. And I think like us as black men, with other black men that we know, and and doing our part with this podcast and pushing content around this type of stuff, we have to make it trendy. We gotta make it cool because, bro, it's healthy as fuck to get through those things. Like if you ain't healthy mentally, there's no way you can ever be physically healthy, right? So like that has to be important.
Why do you think it's important for us to talk about mental health in the black community?
Yeah. Man, like to be honest with you, like one is to kill the stigma. Like let's kill the stigma that shit is weak. Because in all actuality, like what's weak is keeping all that shit bottled in, right? What's weak is staying to yourself. Why is it weak? Because it's easy. Like that's weak as hell to do that. Like build up enough nuts about yourself. Get some courage and actually open up and start dealing with your issues and talking through your problems, bro. That's hard, right? So like we got to get rid of that stigma that talking about your problems is actually weak, because it's actually strengthening that shit. So one, that's super important. Two, I think that there's a huge connection between relationship with self and relationship with other people, right? And especially within our black community, where you have these debates between black on black crime, and black women always screaming out, black dudes ain't shit, right? And all this anger that's coming from everywhere, right? It's like collectively we gotta learn how to deal with our shit, right? And before we can give it to others, like, so it's important to talk about dealing with your shit as a people, so that we can heal each other. Because what I do know is, and I've learned this along my journey, like I told myself, and I made a promise to myself that when I came on the other side of things, that I was going to do everything within two ways, right? With love and respect, right? So I don't care who I encounter and how I move, I'm going to give you love and respect, right? And because, what I believe is that whatever energy you put out, it's going to come right back to you. And that's the type of energy I want, right? Even when you feel like you got some animosity or some hatred toward me, I can give you that love and respect as long as you keep it, non-disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? So like we have to teach our people how to be, emotional beings, and to tap into that emotional side, but also how to move in a world where we ain't got to take no shit, right? Because you can do both, and you don't have to compromise one to get the other. So like we have to talk about that shit.
I think black men, black people, we need to start like caring about our health more. You know how
That's a fact too.
A lot of black people, they don't go to the doctor.
That's a fact too, bro.
Yeah, like when I was going through my anxiety and my depression, I waited so long to go to the doctor, man. I could have been done with that, but I like, man, I ain't going to no doctor not to deal with that.
That's a fact. And and not only just the doctor, but like what you putting in your body too. Yeah. Right? Like just making sure that there's balance there. You know, making sure that you paying attention to what you eating and stuff too. But do you think the stigma around us going to the doctor is the same as like how we are with opening up? You know, like black people, you know how we are too, especially my older people. I can tell you like my grandmas and moms and dads, they ain't really trying to see the doctor like that. Yeah. You think that's like we approach that the same way we do emotions?
Yeah, I think it's the same way.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, we're more open to the health side of things because it's like, you could die. Yeah. You know, mentally, you like, I'm cool. I
just deal with it.
I just deal with it. Yeah. Man, listen, like this has been a fun conversation, bro. And like I enjoy just tapping into your head, especially on these types of conversations, just because it's like I need that release first and foremost, right? Like I have these thoughts in my head on why we don't deal with shit, and I need somebody to talk to. So part of this podcast is me getting my shit off, and who better to do it with than my partner, right? But then too, just the aspect of just spreading our opinions about this shit and allowing people to open up and give their thoughts. I think it's going to be therapeutic for a lot of people in our immediate circles and stuff. But I did want to kind of switch topics just really quickly to wrap this up. Since this is our final episode of 2020, I kind of just wanted to finish up by talking about the importance of starting where you at, bro. Right? You know what I'm saying? To kind of give some of our listeners and some of the people some motivation, right? And I'll kind of give a backstory between me and Smooth's journey, right? Me and him decided that we wanted to be business partners in some capacity in 2014. We landed on a clothing line at the time, and I was living in New York while he was here in Houston, and we couldn't figure out how to make that gel and how to have technology work for us and be at the same, be in two places at one time and all of that. So it kind of like it was just a hobby and an idea, right? Fast forward to 2018, where I'm back in Houston, and him and I are back sitting at the table talking about ideas, and this podcast come up, and the clothing line as we want to do, and some other things with stocks and real estate. We start talking about other business ventures and whatnot, and we finally came to that realization that, bro, like the first thing we want to do is this podcast, and we already kind of got our blueprint down, like what we waiting on, right? And at that moment, we just jumped in. Right, and what it forced us to do is it forced our ideas to guide us on where we wanted to go with this podcast. If you fast forward to now, well, it's almost Christmas holiday, and we're 2 months into this thing. We've built this up to where it's actually a startup brand, where we have something moving, and we got great things coming in the year to come. So, man, I just really want to encourage people: start where you at, start with whatever idea you got. Don't never let nobody shit on your dreams. Don't never let anybody tell you that it can't be done. You push yourself, and if it's not working in with one direction, switch the direction. If it ain't working in that one, keep switching the direction. And if you keep pushing yourself out, you'll figure that shit out. And that's really all I wanted to leave the people with. If you had anything you wanted to,
I would just say, whatever you want to do, just do it. Don't keep on like I need this, I need that. Just do it. It don't matter what you got going on. As long as you get it going, then you'll be all right.
Yeah, man. So listen, man, I am your host, KP. This is my guy, Toxic King Smooth. This is episode 8, the final one of 2020. We're going to see y'all on the other side. Yeah.
Why I got to be toxic, baby?
You be with them steppers, huh? But you can't step with us. Niggas swear they certified.